Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I am Lynn and today's topic is the rat race. According to Google, the rat race is the way of life in which people are caught up in the fiercely competitive struggle for wealth or power. I am going to be using two citations for today's video, and the first would be Bonnie Mbuli's book titled Eyebags and Dimples. And on this book, obviously, she went by Bonnie Henna, so there is a surname transition there. Please do not get confused. I am talking about the Bonnie Mbuli. And I'm going to also be citing the actual movie, That Rat Race, which was released in 2001. So it's a comedy film, and I'm going to be using those two examples. Before I get into the citations of the book and the movie, The Rat Race, I just want to talk about my own life and how it is in connection to the rat race. So I grew up in Johannesburg my whole life. This is all I know. And I don't have homelands. I don't have a place like KZN and Limpopo to go to sort of simmer down. So I do have a distant family, and I had a great grandmother who has a plot in Vereeniging. It's like farm life vibes, and it's sort of a slow down to in comparison to the life that I'm living now. And although I do not live in the city itself, I used to travel from the age of 13. So I know city life from the age of 13 because I used to travel to school and connect from the CBD, the Central Business Districts, city of Johannesburg, where there is the actual hustle and bustle to get to where you're going. So that's what I know, like the fast life of it all. And when you go to the place in Vereeniging, you can sort of see the contrast between the life that you are living and the life that is in the farm. And it is a bit slowed down. There's no rush to get to the next thing. City of Johannesburg, Gauteng as a whole, is where people come to find jobs and also fulfill their dreams. So there is a lot of buzz. Everyone is going somewhere. There is a lot of noise, and this is where you learn rat race etiquette, because it doesn't just end in a place where you are physically. I think also social media, we're getting to a point where we can actually feel that there is always motion happening. So you see it in how people are posting where they are or who they are, and this is what makes it a bit difficult to now sit back and actually be content with your own life. Because when you were just someone who had to go out there to see this yourself, it was different to now, where you can just click and you can have access to all these other things that can be possible. So there is a bit of a danger there. When you are in the city, a lot of things are happening around you while you're out there trying to make it, chasing paper, chasing power. And it reminds me so much of Count Me Out by Kendrick Lamar, where he's just standing still and he's looking all around him and people are passing by. That is how I see Johannesburg, because when you are in the city, you get that feeling that you just need to get to the next place and then you will be settled. However, when you are inside, it's just nerve-wracking and you don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, for example, you can't even show weakness in that place, and that is also a testament to the fact that there is a way in which people do things that is not very um healthy. You cannot be chasing the next thing your whole life. And I also wonder how people are raising their families within the city, because it doesn't seem like something that can be productive to a young mind. I do not know, but I don't know how to expand it per se, but I do find an issue with the kids just running around and thinking that this is what life looks like, because there is so little integrity in how things are handled within the city life. But I don't want to go off topic for now. I just wanted to share what I see the city life as. First, I am going to discuss the movie The Red Race, and I loved it firstly for its casting. That's what drew me to the movie. Seeing Rowan Atkinson, who plays Mr. Bean, seeing Whoopi Goldberg. I knew her from Sister Act, and I feel like seeing the familiar faces being goofy is what drew me to the movie, because I was a kid and I loved comedy so much, so it was on the same level as Muppets from Space. That's what got me hooked. Donald Sinclair is the casino owner, and he offers six groups of people 2 million. However, they're going to have to race each other to Silver City in Mexico, and they are high rollers, betting each other as to who the winner will be. So they are in Las Vegas, the casino, and at first the groups are reluctant to do this, but money is at stake, so obviously they start racing each other, and they just want to make it to Silver City on time, be the first one to get there to get the grand $2 million prize. My apologies if this will be a spoiler, but watch the movie. So when they get to the train station at Silver City in Mexico, they fight to open the locker. However, there is nothing in the locker. And they soon find out that it's all part of the whole plan to follow them and see who's gonna get there first. And at the end, they give up the money for donations. And it just makes me go, what was it all for? I think I may not be explaining it according to how the movie goes exactly, but I think that the whole idea is that they do not get the money that they were promised. So I want to talk about the wear and tear. We don't talk enough about how when you are busy chasing this money, this fame, this power, there are things in between that happen that you don't really get to talk about, or you don't really get to sense in your body, but it happens later in your body, within your relationships, the material things that take a strain or are put back or dumped somewhere, suppressed, that's the correct word, so that you can achieve whatever you have to achieve. um I don't know why we don't talk about that. This brings me then to my second site, presenting Bonnie Hennas, or now Bonnie Mbuli's Eyebags and Dimples. So I read this book in around 2020. It was a great book, or it is a great book, but I just want to bring forth the fact that I highlighted this line back then, but I didn't fully know how to put it out there, articulate what it meant at the time. But when it came to me, or when I read it rather, it was like, what? There will be no spoilers on the book. It is an amazing book, and I just want to say that in as much as I'm going to share the information, some of it is just an overview of what is in the book. But it's not going to tell you everything that you need to know. So it is rich and it has a lot of words of wisdom. You'll find a lot of lessons in this here book. She talks about her upbringing, living in Soweto. She talks about getting gigs as an actor. She talks about backstage a bit, which is very interesting. I love it so much because I guess a lot of people knew her from there. I don't know much because although I know a little bit, I'm not that much older. you know, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. She talks about backstage, she talks about Survivor, she talks about LA, and I think that is the most prominent for me, not because of LA the place, but because of how it speaks to the chasing of dreams. It talks to how you leave everything behind and you just set your eyes on that one thing. It is the most, I love the chapters on LA. The first one being to live in LA or to die in LA. Thank you so much for this book, Bonnie. Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read a passage from the book and I'm going to talk about that passage, or I'm going to talk about a particular line that sort of reflects the wear and tear part of this conversation. So here it goes. A part of me was resigned to the reality that things hadn't worked out in LA, and we were now heading back to dashed hopes, to a chorus of self-satisfied "we told you so's." But another part of me clung to the flickering hope that anything is still possible, to the faith that God could make rivers flow even in a desert. I still wanted answers, to understand why things had gone the way they had. I questioned God in prayers and looked for clues and signs to piece together a satisfactory answer, one that would fit into the gaping wound of my soul, even perhaps resurrect my dream that lay gasping its last breath like roadkill on the streets of LA. We spent the last couple of days resting. We had finally stopped running against the clock and were now feeling our blisters. That line about where they stopped running against the clock and could now feel their blisters, it speaks to how when you start resting after a long time of running for something or gunning for something, when you finally get to a place of resting, you can start to feel your body ache. And this took me back to a time when I was sick. I don't know if any of you have felt very sick, but I have been in that position where I was helplessly sick. I was somewhat bedridden. I wouldn't say all the way because I could still walk or stand, but I couldn't do it for a long period of time. So I could get water, but I had to come back to bed and just rest because I was so sick. And when that happens to you, you start to reflect on everything that you did to get to where you were going. And you start to question this path that you were taking. And you start to feel the aches in your body. So if maybe you were a person that threw a ball every day, if you didn't feel that ache on your shoulder, you would start feeling it because your body is now resting. And man, when you're sick, you get to this sort of place where you look at relationships, you look at all these accomplishments, in a different way, because you realize that what you need essentially is yourself, and you need to fill your cup first before you go and chase whatever it is that you are chasing. The purpose of this video is not to say you need to overthink your decisions, you need to be precise. It's more of taking care of yourself while you're in the process of getting to where you are. And don't lose yourself in the source. Don't lose yourself trying to fulfill that thing. While in the moment, can you also review if this is something that is working for you? Or are you just waking up and doing the same thing over and over and over, just expecting things to change? Yes, it is sometimes a good thing to be on autopilot, because it helps you regulate emotion. You don't have to be emotional all the time, and sometimes it helps you get to where you want to go. However, sometimes we don't think about the consequences of just shutting down and doing what needs to be done, because ultimately we do pay a price at the end. And sometimes it's the relationships, sometimes it's ourselves that we lose. So I just think that it's something that we do need to consider. What are the consequences of the things that the decisions we take while we are going to where we want to go? And to understand that the bars is not always real life. Sometimes you just don't need to be a part of it. And it, just like I say, the Central Business District in Johannesburg reminds me so much that you don't have to stay in that place. Sometimes it's just transportation to get to where you want to go, but it's not the goal, it's not the end goal. We are not meant to live a life of hyperstimulation or overstimulation, rather, where the brain is always working and working and working. You do need to take steps back and relax. Otherwise, there's a quote, I'm going to find it, but it talks about how if you do not pick a day to rest, life will do it for you. So you need to pick that day, you need to be intentional about it. Otherwise, like I say, I was sick, and I think that it was a blessing in disguise at the time, because I knew that I was somewhere it wasn't about fulfillment per se, but it was eating away my soul. Every day just going to this place, and no one is happy. My manager's not happy. I'm not happy. A lot of people not happy. And it was just, it made me sit back and think about where I was going next, and if staying in this place, it pulled me away from that place, firstly. But if I stayed longer, I wouldn't have seen the things that I've seen. I wouldn't have got experience that I have so far. 3 things I want to say in conclusion. The first one being something I mentioned already. Life will slow you down if you don't. So take that time to slow down, to relax, to unwind, to reflect. The second thing I want to say is direction is more important than speed. I saw that quote somewhere. I'll find it, put it on this video. It is most important to know where you're going than to go nowhere fast and to chase what everyone else is chasing. Don't go somewhere just because you see a group of people going there. And it happens a lot in this CBD situation. There's this video of, or this trend where people start running and you run too. Where are you going? What is the story? You need to think about what you need life is not a one size fits all. You need to be very specific about your journey, and you need to ask yourself if certain things are a part of it and will help you get to where you were going. The third thing is stop chasing. It is incredibly difficult to do that, or it is also, it makes you feel like you are not as ambitious. But I'm not saying be lazy, don't do anything about it, but sometimes certain things are not for you at that time. So the more you chase, the more it runs away from you because it's not for you, and you might start forcing your hand and forcing God. We do this thing all the time where we force God to cooperate. God, cooperate. This is what I want, and I want it now. Guys, don't do that, because sometimes God is protecting us. If I think of the things that I wanted to do in my early 20s, and if God had given me that back then, I think I would have been someone else, or elsewhere, or I don't know, maybe I don't even want to say I'd be a single mother. I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that the situation would have been so much more different for me. And if I had access to drugs and access to a lot of alcohol and access to a lot of money, I don't know. But you see, like, God knows best, I feel. Let us lean not on our understanding or on our fellow humans' understanding. Let us lean on God's understanding, because He knows why He's depriving us. And sometimes it's not forever, sometimes it's just a situational thing. So please do not force your hand or make threats or do other things like start using witchcraft. Don't, stay away from those things. Pace yourself. You will get there. And I feel like those 3 points are advice as to how you leave the rat race.
So many people ask me, how did you become a millionaire so young?
Thank you so much for watching my video. Please like, comment, subscribe. I will see you on the next one. Peace.